I'm Matt Kenyon, the owner of Makellos Classics, and this is the Pace. I forgot what it was called. I'm Matt Kenyon, the owner of Makellos Classics, and this is the Pacenotes, a podcast about all things Porsche.
And I'm Greg Bartley, project manager at Makellos Classics.
Today we are talking about a 1973 911T Sportomatic that has 20,000 original miles, and we're going to go through what makes it an original car. Greg, what would you like to share?
Some of my favorite parts about this car is the extremely original interior. You've got uncracked dash, factory, original sport seats. This car has barely seen the light of day. Never seen the light.
This car's never seen the light of day. He just stared at me. You're a Porsche serial killer.
We're going to never let this car out. Back to you, Rich.
So the paint on this car is just about half original. From the doors forward, it's completely original paint. You can tell with a little bit of chipping here and there, but there's no paint lines in those areas. From the paint meter, it's running everywhere from 4 to 6, 3 in some areas. The reason original paint's so important is because it can show that the car's never been hit.
Yeah, well, even more interesting, the fact this car is from Hawaii and shows no signs of rust, paint bubbles, any of those paint defects that you'd get from a car that's that close to the ocean.
So this is the paint meter. So this will gauge the depth between the paint to the metal. Usually original paint runs anywhere from low from like 3s to 6s. On some of the earlier cars, it'll be a little thinner because it's been buffed and all that kind of stuff, and some of the paint has been taken off. The main thing you're checking with this, you want it to be usually within that range, but you're also checking consistency throughout the car. This shows that there's no abnormal areas where it's been hit, and there's any filler, that the body's straight. So we don't only use these on original cars. We'll use these on just about any car, restorations or anything, just to see if when they did the body work. Did they put too much filler on it? Was the car hit at one point? So it checks a lot of stuff.
Other features on this car includes the S-trim. S-trim includes anodized, which is often confused with chrome, rocker moldings, and front and rear bumper trim and moldings.
Yeah, and this car actually comes with the original black horn grills, as well as kind of unique for this car. It comes with 6 and 7 Fuchs, which are date stamped correctly, 73. It also comes with a black outlining around the signal lenses, front and rear, as well as the rear black anodized grille and emblems.
One of the other unique features about this is optioned with the rear wiper for the rear glass. This was an option that came out in 1966, but rarely found on these early long hood cars. Another one includes the sunroof. So the sunroofs are often removed for race purposes, or they're just completely rusted shut and non-operational because those parts are just hard to find.
I think that just about covers it for the exterior of the car. Is that just about it?
Yeah.
So interior-wise, one of the first things I look at is the dash on these cars, because they're usually, if they are original, cracked right down the center, and this thing is basically perfect, and you can definitely tell it's original. The seats as well, this car has sports seats, factory sports seats, which are pretty rare. It's very rare to see in especially a T.
Right.
You'd see them in the S's or the RS's, sometimes the E's, but very rarely you'd see them in the T, and they're in perfect shape. That kind of proves the mileage a little bit more. The original carpet is a little stiffer, which shows the age, but it's in great shape. And then the door pockets are in excellent condition, which is another key thing to look at in a low mileage original car.
And one of the interesting features as well is there's a radio delete from the factory. And most of the time you'd find these radio deletes, and after the past 50 years, someone would have added a stereo at some point, and this still features the completely untouched covers for that. And what you also notice is that this car has a stick, but it has 2 pedals, and that's because it's a Sportomatic, which is Porsche's attempt at an almost automatic for those days. So it was effectively clutchless, but it had a micro switch within the shift console. So when you'd put your hand on the shifter, it would actuate a solenoid, which would then open up a pneumatic valve, which would engage the clutch. So it was a really unique feature that you didn't find a lot on these cars, or people would have swapped them out for a manual within their period of ownership. So
Yeah, it definitely gives the car more personality. They're definitely a fun, unique thing to experience if you haven't driven one, because it's funny. If someone would rest their hand on the knob, thing just goes into neutral, just revs up. So it's kind of different to drive. Another thing that's really cool on this car, it has so basically the background of this car, it's been stored since 1993. It hasn't been out of the garage since then, and it's got a tag in the door for an oil change back in 1991, and it shows 19,000 miles and maybe 19,800 miles or something like that, which is pretty cool to see. Right. When we got the car, pretty common for these MFIs that have been sitting for a while. It is an MFI 73. It's not a CIS, but since it had been sitting for however many years, 30-something years, or 20-something years. Right. The MFI pump was stuck, so right now we're going through that. But yeah, just everything on this car kind of shows that it's just been sitting since forever, but it's just in really great shape. It's so many original features on this car that are just, it's like a time capsule.
Right.
So.
And for those not familiar with MFI, it's mechanical fuel injection, which came out in 1969. And what it is it's a series of, it's a cam and a series of pistons that really introduce fuel into the engine, but it was their replacement for carburetors for their higher end model. So that was the E and the S, and then later on in 72 forward, 72 to 73, MFI was standard for U.S. American cars.
And today you see the MFI cars as pretty desired, especially because the 73 911 RS, which is one of the most desirable cars, it's probably one of my favorite car, probably, because it's just an iconic 911 that came out. But the MFI system is just when it's dialed in correctly, it sounds great. It runs great. But when it's not dialed in correctly, it can be a pain in the butt. So
it's hard to find people to service them as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so this 1973 911 is open for pre-sale right now. If you're interested in this car but would like to change a few things, now would be the time to give us a call and let us know, and we can customize it to your liking. Greg can give you a little more info on that.
Right. So, I mean, you could really make this your own in a way to where you want to keep it in its original condition, or you could take it all the way up to a hot rod. You can add oil coolers. You can bump up displacement. I mean, there's so many options on these cars, and this is a great time to do it before the purchase or even after the purchase. We try and make these cars really tailored towards the customer and give the customer what they're looking for. So
yeah, when a customer picks a car up from us, we want them to be excited about it. So if you guys, even after pre-purchase, we can customize them and do things that you'd like. Just give us a call or just click the link below. Yeah. Thanks for watching the Pacenotes, a podcast about all things Porsche. Please subscribe for more.